Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Kenzie's Krimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people have done to me.
She says Heaven's Gate awaiting.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with another edition of Kenzie's Krimes, a deep dive into a local drama, murder, mystery. We never know what's coming. Kenzie throws it at me in case, and you, and then we all just sit back in awe.
I will start off by saying I got a comment last week on Facebook that said, Kenzie's Krimes suck today. No one got murdered. So
that was for my burner.
My apologies. And murder's back on the board this week.
Let's go.
You can put on the board.
Back on the board. My apologies. So Phil Flores and Samantha Harer began dating in June 2017. Samantha was 23 years old, and her new boyfriend was actually 10 years older than her. Phil was also a police officer. They had their first date at the Grundy County Speedway in Morris, and a fellow Crest Hill officer and a woman on the Wilmington Police Department came along for a double date.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, so things were actually going really good. They also had a great time at their second best date, which was the Jason Aldean concert. Case would love to be there.
Oh, yeah, that's my guy,
Yes.
Jason Aldean.
Did Jelly Roll open that show, maybe?
Try that in a small town.
So that was their dream. September 2017, so after they've been dating for just a few months, Phil learned Samantha was messaging with a married police officer at the Plainfield Police Department.
Ooh.
He saw the messages on an Apple Watch. He said, I came over after work and went to go charge my watch next to her watch. And I looked through the messages and saw how she was talking about going on vacation with this man and how they could take care of each other poolside and how there wouldn't be much sightseeing going on this trip. Okay.
That's a lot for that small face of the Apple Watch. That's a lot of information.
You had to scroll. That's a scrolling situation.
Good Lord.
He confronted Samantha about the messages, as probably anybody would, and she said she was remorseful and would have never acted on any of those things discussed with the officer. They did not end their relationship. 3 months later, Phil drove to Samantha's apartment in Shanahan when she was not home. He used her door code to get into her place. You know how people have, like, the codes?
Sure.
He went to go get his work shirt because he left it over there. And he noticed that her laptop was open and out and sitting on top of her dresser, which was kind of weird, with Facebook still pulled up. And in fact, not just Facebook pulled up, but like the messaging tab. And she was messaging the Plainfield Community Service Officer. And it was clear that they were meeting up. So she literally had like the see you soon. They went to go meet each other.
She's not made this discreet.
No.
She had her watch available with all these messages. She had her laptop open.
He has codes.
Yeah.
She's unconcerned about him finding stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Flaunting it almost.
And so Phil texted her, calling her a liar, because based on their previous conversations from that day, she's like, oh, I'm going to be doing this. So he's like, you're a liar. You're here. It obviously like blew up into an argument. The discovery of Samantha's messages with the Plainfield Community Service Officer prompted Phil to break up with Samantha this time during the first week of December 2017. So their relationship had started, just for reference, June 2017. Now it's December 2017. And he's caught her twice talking to guys, right?
Also a good time to break up. No Christmas gift.
Okay, but hold up.
Saves money on that.
God, he's just always cheap. But they reconciled by the second week of December. So they broke up for a week.
Crap.
I know. And completely disregarding your point, Brian, they actually shared a beautiful Christmas together where Phil claimed he received the most thoughtful gift of his life from her. She got him like this plaque with like gold wings because he also served in the military. It was really, really thoughtful.
Huh.
Unfortunately, it would be their first and last Christmas that they ever spent together.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I will pause there. Thank you for the sound effect.
Wow. All right, when we come back, the conclusion of Kenzie's Krimes for today with Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with the conclusion of Kenzie's Krimes today. And boy, what a cliffhanger.
Okay, so just as a recap, if you're just joining us, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. You can still understand the story. Phil Flores was a police officer. He was 10 years older than his girlfriend, Samantha. They started dating in June 2017. during the time period of June 2017 to December 2017, he'd caught her twice talking to other men, but they had finally gotten over that hump in the relationship.
Every relationship has to get through that hump of your girl talking to several other men being talked about and talked to.
Yes, so they had a little bit of an age gap. They were a 10-year difference, so maybe he chalked it up to some immaturity because she was only 23. Who knows? But anyways, February 12th, 2018. Okay, so a little under a year still of dating.
February 12th?
February 12th.
That's
your
my birthday. Oh, my goodness.
Woo!
Wow.
Thanks for
Celebrate
reminding.
good times.
February 12th, 2018, my birthday was celebrated at the Rainforest Cafe. Fun fact about me, Kenzie, back to the crime.
Okay, so while you were at the Rainforest Cafe, Phil showed up at Samantha's apartment while she was asleep to surprise her with her Valentine's Day gifts, which included 3 Valentine's Day cards and 2 boxes of candy. The following morning, February 13th, 2018, Case was home from the Rainforest Cafe, and Phil called 911 from her apartment, claiming, because he was off duty to the 911 dispatcher, that she locked herself in a bedroom and shot herself in the head.
Oh, my God.
The Shanahan Police Department investigated Harer's death as a self-inflicted gunshot and later announced her death was ruled as suicide, clearing Phil of any criminal wrongdoing.
Huh. Something tells me it's not going to go that way.
Well, it did seem a bit odd. You know, you bring over Valentine's Day gifts in the middle of the night, and then the next morning she's that upset. But people do have mental health issues, so you never know the journey someone's going through. It didn't take long for people to question the integrity of the investigation, however. A fight had clearly ensued within the apartment. DNA wasn't tested, and news outlets had some beef with certain local outlets for saying that they're not publishing the story within the area. I'm not going to name who said who to what, but they were like, we're publishing this story and this happened right there. It should be all over your papers. So it got a little muddy. Because of that, and of course, just in general, Samantha's parents did get involved hiring an attorney. After a long process, witnesses claimed they did hear a fight just before the gunshots, including a woman's voice saying, "Get your hands off of me."
Well, that's an indicator that something wasn't going right.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. God, it's like Sherlock Holmes is here every week.
All the cold cases would be solved if I got involved.
You're like, something's up here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
A large dent was also present in the drywall where it looked like somebody's body went through it, maybe even about the size of a head, which was consistent with the notion of struggle within the apartment. And the dent was noted to not be there prior days. Phil had blood splatter and gunshot residue on his right hand and the right arm of his sweatshirt, which again was not previously tested. Gunshot residue was not found on Samantha's hand. That's very suspicious, obviously, if it was a self-inflicted wound. The gun that killed Samantha had substantial elements of Phil's DNA also.
This is kind of leading somewhere.
You think?
I think it's leading a little bit.
So, of course, to not test DNA, to not check sweatshirt, to not do backstory, to not ask witnesses, people are like, this seems very obvious and kind of like a cover-up. And not to mention, they had a tumultuous relationship leading up to this moment on top of that. So Phil was found guilty in civil court and was ordered to pay $15 million to Samantha's family.
What?
Now, this is where it gets crazy. Because of everything going on, he was never convicted in criminal court. He is serving 0 time, even though found guilty of a murder in civil court. He was never taken to criminal court because the state's attorney decided to not charge the officer. He's literally found guilty of murder in civil court, and he is walking around. I think the argument he made is like, well, you can't say beyond a doubt that he did it, which is because, there wasn't somebody else there. But you'd argue that DNA evidence holds a heavy impact.
Wow, well, another wild Kenzie's Crimes. And remember, if you just came in at the end, you can find that on the podcast, the Brian and Kenzie podcast, every day. Case uploads 4 segments of the show each hour and then a separate one for Kenzie's Crimes. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts, of course, Apple and Spotify and the Q101 app. It looks really slick. It's easy to find everything. So do that, download the app, and get involved with the show later in the day. Make sure you don't miss anything. Mm-hmm. And coming up here in about 10 minutes, we talked, I guess, in the last hour about this coyote that was pulled from the freezer section of an Aldi in Humboldt Park. We have an update on the situation, on the coyote. And when we come back, we will give you that.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.